Ladies and gentlemen, DX is in the house. But if you hear a crunching in the background, it's because I gave the dog a bone just so I could do the show and talk wrestling. So if you hear some strange effects, it is the dog, not Abdullah.
It's a dog.
Welcome,
D-O-double-G.
welcome for the second night of It's Real, It's Real, It's Real to Me. Darn it. And we're going to talk about WrestleMania a little bit tonight. And then we got a special treat at the end of it. Jeremy and I are going to talk about the 10 best matches that we remember. And then I'm going to throw out 5 stinkers. And I mean, I've got 5 that nobody can find any redeeming quality in. Nobody, not even the guys that were in it can justify it. So let's get in to welcome them, everybody. Howie, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good, guys. How are y'all?
I'm good. I don't know about JJ, but I'm good.
I'm getting there. That's all I can say. I'm getting there.
JJ, how are you tonight?
I'm good. I've been working because I've been helping my brother. They're building a house. I took a week of vacation, so my vacation consists of construction work. So, you tell me how I am.
My vacation consists of watching a friend's dog. So, I don't know if I'm any better than you. Real quick, let's just get through, and there's still some debate on what's going to close the show. But let's run through the matches that's been released and the night they're on. I do know some stuff that will come early. Night 1, what they said on Raw was John Cena and Austin Theory will open it up. And Chris Jericho always said, you want to be the first on or the last on? It's a pretty good place to put Austin Theory, Howie.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah.
And that could, that could really steal the show, the opening match of the night. That could be a dangerous spot.
I like that match. I like John. Do you think John Cena's got a movie to shoot, or there's a reason they put him on first? Jeremy?
No, I kind of feel like maybe he's gonna hang around for a little while, Cena. But I don't know. Of course he's kind of getting on the status now that he may have seasons where he'll be there for a month or two and then be gone again. He's kind of that status. He's almost that Rock status type now. But I think this is going to be a very good match.
I do too. I think it's going to be one of the better matches of the night. Now, I assume this is going to be early, but let's talk about stuff happening early. We've already talked about it. The 4-way tag team match with those 4 male tag teams, how it could be special.
No, I don't like a big match like that. I'm sorry. That's going to be a early popcorn and bathroom break for me, guys.
All right, Jeremy, we talked earlier. This could be a real big match. Ricochet and Braun Strowman, Street Profits, Alpha Academy, Viking Raiders. It's going to be fun. Get popcorn, go to the bathroom if you want to.
Well, it's like we talked about last week. It's just giving the guys an opportunity to be on the big stage. What better way to include more than to have a 4-way tag team match? That's 8 guys. And nothing against any of those teams. They're actually I like all the teams to be. Yeah. Chad Gable gets on my nerves. He makes me want to punch him in the face.
That's his job.
But that's his job, yes.
Hey, if this had been 2 tag team matches, I've been all for it. But when you get that many people out there, it becomes the spot shows. All it is.
Speaking of spot shows, 6-person tag team match, Damage Control versus Becky Lynch versus Lita versus Trish Stratus. Howie, arguably 3 of the top 5 known women in the history. You throw Charlotte in there and Ronda Rousey, I think you have the top 5, the Mount Rushmore of women's wrestling. Throw Moolah in there somewhere. But that's pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be I think that's going to be a good match, but unfortunately on damage control side, it'll have to be Bailey carrying them because the other two are not very good. But as far as Becky and Lita and Trish, that should be a good match. And I've been hearing that there's possibility that Trish may do a little turn job come Saturday night.
Well,
right.
she did. They did throw her in there. I mean, you got the tag team champions, and then all of a sudden now it's a 3-way, and you throwing Trish in there. Be a good time to do it.
Jeremy, I think a match that finally, I kept saying the build wasn't complete, but with Rey Mysterio punching his son 2 weeks ago, it really did become one of the best builds in WWE history. And now you have Rey versus Dominic. And I don't think this is Rey's last match. I think originally about a year ago, this was planned to be Rey's last match. But I can't see this being his last match. Going into the Hall of Fame, then putting his son over in the same night.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Part of me wants him to whip Dominic's rear end and go over. But I know he, most especially since that's his son, he's going to be proud to be able to do the job for his son. I don't think he's done. I think he's going to have a few more in him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he'll go quite a while longer myself, because I feel like that Rey will win, but I think it's one of those things where Dominique will come back at SummerSlam and try to revenge it somehow.
So right here, I think that's everybody, and again, I make that assumption too that he's going to put Dominic over. But if they have a good enough match, Dominic can get over without, as they say, going over.
Yeah.
If Rey sails the entire time, and Dominic really just beats him to a pulp, but then somehow Mighty Mouse, as Vince McMahon called him, pulls it out. That still makes Dominic he that's increasing the heat on him, and then also you giving the veteran Mysterio the Hall of Famer at that point. You give.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump real fast. I don't want to spend too long on this. To me, the next match almost doesn't make sense. The more I thought about it, I heard somebody else make the point that Seth Rollins is really over, but so's Logan Paul. Everybody hate Logan Paul, but he's over. Mm-hmm. So you got over Logan Paul versus over Seth Rollins. I don't know where you go unless you're going to make this a spot fest, Howie.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be a spot fest or not, but I feel like that when it's all said and done, there'll be some type of gimmicky finish to where both guys will stay over. Because, like you said, Seth Rollins is probably fourth on the card as far as, Roman is number one, Rhodes is number two, Sammy probably number three, and then Seth Rollins is probably fourth.
And I hate his character. I really do hate Seth Rollins' character.
Yeah.
But looks like we've dropped Jeremy there real fast. Let's see if he gets back. I really enjoy seeing Logan Paul. I think that's where he belongs, and it's where he's belonged the whole time.
Yeah.
Is in the WWE.
And he's got that big contract, so it's not like it's a one and done. He's going to be around for 2 or 3 more years.
Absolutely. Kind of that Ronda Rousey type deal, come and go, and Jeremy must have had to reboot. So let's just go on real fast. Next, we get into the main events next, and what we think is going to be the main event. I'll hold the next one until Jeremy gets back. What we think the main event may be Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. I heard this one debated too, Howie, and it was like There he is. I'm gonna ask you both this. How do you put Rhea Ripley over Charlotte? At the showcases, and I feel like it's what it's got to be, but it's like putting it's like putting Magnum TA over Ric Flair the first time back in the day if you'd have done it. Or
well, she got to lose the belt because she's going to break Flair's record as far as times champion. So go ahead and let her lose to Ripley because she's hot right now, and move Charlotte to Raw and let her go after Bianca.
Well, and the other thing you have, you could have a SummerSlam rematch.
Yeah, true.
Whatever.
But if she's going after that title, the how many titles she won champions, going after her dad's record, you don't want to take the belt off of Ripley that quick though.
No, true.
So you're looking possibly her going to Raw to take on Bianca Belair because Bianca had the belt for a year now.
Yeah, that's right. That would be a great match.
Yes.
Yes, it will. And then probably in the semi-main event or somewhere on the way, it's my most anticipated match other than all the bloodline matches take a step up to me because they've been built so well. So it is Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Jimmy and Jay, the Usos. We got in some crazy stuff last week, Howie. You still feel like it can happen?
Yeah, I do. If what I said last week don't happen, here's what I think could happen as well. The Usos will retain the belts, but then Roman will lose his to where the Usos thinks they're the head of the table.
Okay.
Man, Howie's putting a lot of thought into this.
He does. And
that's good stuff.
I'm telling you, I put a lot of thought in. I think Jay White shows up at WrestleMania somewhere.
Well, when the storyline's so good, it makes you want to try to figure out or anticipate what's going to happen because they've had so many turns and twists and swerves. With this, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And one of my favorite things about wrestling or some of my favorite moments is the surprise.
Yeah.
Somebody shows up and, WWE has done a horrible job because they want to boost ratings. They announce so-and-so is going to be there. But my favorite times is when somebody just shows up out of nowhere. So great time. Jay White. I'm not a huge Jay White fan. I think he's good. But if he shows up out of nowhere, it'd be good.
You have to be a Ring of Honor guy to really know Jay White. Because again, he's like Rhea Ripley. He's from New Zealand. Spent most of his time in Ring of Honor and New Japan. Little bit of time on AEW, but really New Japan where he made his name. First night, I give it. I went through that first night and I gave it a B. I can't give it an A because there's unless you tell me we're going to give Sami Zayn and Owens 45 minutes to tear the place down, then I'll say it's an A-. But it's still missing a little star power to me.
You know what? I don't. I kind of feel like it. Yeah, it's probably A- or A to A+ because the only bad match, and it's not a bad match, but it's that the tag team matches with the 4 tag teams. That's the only match I feel like, it'll be just a bunch of spots or whatever. The rest of those matches are fantastic. I mean, they're going to kill it. I think every one of those matches will be very good.
I don't disagree with you. It's just, I think what hurts it in my head a little bit is there's no heavyweight title match, period. So this hurts. Howie, how do you feel about the first night?
I think the first night's going to be good, but I'm not giving it a high grade like y'all are, and it's probably because, like you said, there's the only titles on the line are, well, there's actually 3 titles, but it's not the main title, I guess you can say. And, I'd give it a B. With, just the card itself, it's a B because that night, too, to me, is pretty much loaded.
I think if I was building it, I would move Gunther, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus into night 1, and maybe moved Logan Paul to night 2, something to give it a little more atop the card. All right, let's get on to Sunday real fast. It starts with the WrestleMania Showcase match, which is a bunch of women wrestling, and really nobody cares except Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. If anybody else wins, I'm shocked. I guess Chelsea Green could win, but it is definitely another get everybody on the card match.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think this will be early on, probably the earliest he's ever appeared on a WrestleMania card. Brock Lesnar versus Omos. Heard rumors that he was going to put over Jeremy.
I mean, what's the veteran do? Brock's a businessman. He's done really well, obviously. Omos he needs more work. Even if he puts him over, there's going to be more work for him to do, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Omos is just going to be an attraction like on the high thing. I don't care who wins or loses, as long as I can see Lesnar do an F5 on him. That'll make.
I'm gonna love it if he does that. I'm good. I don't care who. Good point, Howie.
I'm gonna stop the show with a little bit of a rumor here. FTR was on a show this week, and they're talking about dream matches. One of the things they bring up is Violence by Nature, an indie match, and the Hardys and stuff. They ask FTR what some of their dream matches are, and Dax answers Edge and Christian. And the announcer goes, "Oh, yeah, that'd be great, but Edge is in WWE and Christian's in AEW." And his answer was basically, that came closer to happen than you think it has, and I still think it'll happen very soon. Does that mean everybody else is going WWE, or maybe Edge is headed to AEW and he's lost every time to this faction that he started. Judgment Day has owned him. So Hell in a Cell, does he go out losing to Finn Balor and let his contract expire and go somewhere, and him and Christian gives it one more run to wrap up their career, Edge and Christian somewhere, WWE, AEW, somewhere as a tag team? That almost seems like justice, but I've now come full circle, and I think Finn Balor is going over Edge.
Yeah.
How about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I do. I believe the Demon is going to make an appearance, and I think we talked about it last week. I think it's a great time because the entrance itself is worth it, and it just gives Balor, to me, it gives him a whole different. Which is the point, but more intimidating, more lethal persona, for sure.
He goes from Dude Love to Mankind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you think about it, and they've sat on it for this long. I think it'd be a great time. Edge, again, Edge, probably one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And he's, I'd love to see that regardless of where they're wrestling. I'd love to see, since they're both healthy, they're both can get in the ring and wrestle, both of Edge and Christian. I'd love to see them together one more time, man. One more run.
And Howie, and what I think is the sleeper match, the physical, what I like is physical wrestling. That's the reason I like New Japan. Walter, for all of us indie guys, versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus has a chance to be unreal physical.
It's just going to be what JR calls a slobber knocker. It's going to be, if you can count 5 wrestling moves in that whole match, I'll be really surprised. I think it's just going to be a beatdown.
Jeremy?
Yeah, there's going to be some ice baths after that one. So there's going to be some bruises, and you know what? It's going to look real. It's really going to look like a legit fight to me.
As white as Sheamus is, he's going to look like Kool-Aid Man before it's over with.
Yeah.
Red.
All right. One more match, and then when we do Cody and Roman, we've done the breakdown enough. I just want your predictions. The Great Muta, Asuka versus Bianca Belair. To me, that's going to be hard for this match to stand up, Howie.
Yeah, it will be, but I feel like Bianca's going to win because I do feel like that eventually she will have something going on with Charlotte on Raw, probably starting Monday.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be a good match, though, because both Belair, phenomenal athlete. She's coming in her own. Asuka, she's a proven commodity. I think it's going to be a really good match, but I think Bianca's going to go over. I really do.
All right. So here it is, finally, for the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Championship. I went back and forth so many times about this. How do you not let Roman get 1,000 days? How do you not let Cody win? I will tell you, I don't see how you don't let Cody win. That's the conclusion I came to. If Cody Rhodes walks out of there cleanly beat, back on the mat, 1, 2, 3, I think his character's done. They can do all they want to with him. But I think his character's done. And to me, they kind of retreaded a AEW mid-carder into a superstar, and you can't do it. He has to beat Roman or his character's done. Howie?
If it was closer, if it was only like a month away and he could be that 1,000th day holding it, then I say, yeah, he's going to win. But we're looking at the close to the middle of summer before he gets to 1,000 days. It's still like 60-something days away. So you can't bring Cody up so hot like he is right now and then just basically throw a bathwater on him, ice bath on him. So I feel like it's going to be Cody's to win with the help of Sami Zayn.
I still believe that you are going to ride that till the end. All right, Mr. Jeremy.
I struggle on this because my mind tells me that why would you have Roman drop the title just shy of 1,000 days? All right, so that to me it makes sense for him to keep the title till he surpasses that 1,000-day mark. But then you look at Cody and you look at what they've done, and they've strapped a rocket to him. I have a question more than an opinion. Is there a way that Cody can lose but still maintain that status without falling off the face of the earth?
The way that Howie had it described last week is about it. Is that there's some outside interference.
Yeah.
But you said in your world he helped Cody win. I don't know any other.
I look, this bloodline thing, man. I feel like that if Cody wins, it's over. The bloodline, I think they need to squeeze more juice out of that, buddy. I really think. And so how will you do that? It's always, to me, it's always better that the heel has the title and the babyface is chasing. Because what happens when Cody gets the title? Where do you go?
Paul Heyman is another. What's his name in boxing? He goes with the winner.
Yeah, there you go.
Another Don King. Don King used to go out with those boxers with that. Whoever had the title, that's who he walked out with, and then whoever left the ring with the title, that's who he left with.
That's true.
So Paul Heyman is going to leave with whoever's got the title.
So how good is Paul Heyman? Is Paul Heyman not at his best right now?
Yes.
Over the last year or two, he's phenomenal.
Yes.
His everything, his facial expressions, his ability to talk, unbelievable.
All right, guys, I'm gonna go on mute. I got to take the dog out real fast. Y'all talk.
Who let the dog out? Randall did. So yeah, but I love Paul Heyman.
Yeah, Paul Heyman is up there getting close to where Jim Cornette was, or Bobby's brain as far as being managers. I know he's not a manager; he's an advocate, but still.
Yeah, but basically the same role. It's just a different title. But he, where question again? Where would the bloodline be if Paul Heyman wasn't a part of that?
Right. Yeah. You take Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn away from the bloodline.
Yeah.
We're probably not talking about the bloodline here at WrestleMania.
Yeah. But it's so good. I mean, and I watch more AEW than I do WWE, but man, that's so good. That this whole bloodline angle, we complained about Roman. They're trying to cram Roman down our throats, and I got so sick of seeing Superman punch after Superman punch in those matches, But he found his niche, man. He is a heel. He's a heel.
But I feel like they got to split the belts up very soon because the TV network deals are coming up at the end of this year.
Yeah,
they're not going to let one person have the title, both titles. Because Raw will have to have theirs, SmackDown will have to have theirs, because Fox and USA wants a champion on both shows.
No, I agree with that too. Yeah. So I've always thought about it like this. They've always had the draft and they do the brand splits, but they never stick to it. I still believe if they would stick to that, and then once a year or twice a year maybe. Survivor Series, WrestleMania, the two come together. You don't have to do a pay-per-view, you could do a pay-per-view with both, but it's SmackDown's wrestling SmackDown, Raw's wrestling Raw on the same pay-per-view, but once a year they collide. And to me, that has always made it wrestling interesting. When you see folks that you hadn't said, oh man, it'd be cool. What if, what if Ric Flair wrestled Hulk Hogan? What if, that was always my question. It's like, man, I'd love to see Hulk Hogan kill Ric Flair, because.
And they could bring back the traditional Survivor Series deal. Raw against SmackDown.
Yeah.
5-on-5.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's go on. I think we all have opinions. We'll have to wait on Saturday. We got about 30 minutes. Let's get through these worst and best matches of WrestleMania. And let's start with the 10 best, and we'll give it over to Howie Chaney.
All right, guys. We're going with 10 best. I don't really have 10 best. Y'all may laugh at me, but for me, one of the best ones I saw at WrestleMania was when the crew of Jackass came in and wrestled.
It was great.
I felt like that was one of the best WrestleMania matches there was.
It was great.
It was.
And then the other one that that really sticks out to me was Ric Flair's last retirement match against Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
Well, neither one of them are on my list. If you want to host and go between me and Jeremy, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, I just want to put my opinion out there. I'm sorry. Randy, go ahead.
No.
Go ahead, Randy. Go ahead, Randy.
I was listening strong. I was just looking on my list to see if Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels made it, and they did not. So I I think I may have overlooked that one, Howie.
Was he on drugs?
Don't count, so go ahead. I'm
No,
just
Owen and Bret Hart. Owen Hart, Bret
Brett.
Hart, WrestleMania. It was at WrestleMania where Bret actually beats Yokozuna and ends up being the world champion. But like he wrestles twice that night, and earlier in the night he loses at WrestleMania 10. He loses to Owen Hart, and that one's old, but I love that match.
All right, Jeremy, you got number 10?
Yeah, I have a number 10, and it's going back, but it's to WrestleMania 3, and that's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Randy Macho Man Savage for the Intercontinental title. Do I have to elaborate when we're talking Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat? Just classic match.
That's to the top. Probably, if you ask most wrestling fans, that's probably two of the top 10 performers ever.
Yeah, and at the time, Macho Man was a great heel. He was a fantastic heel. He couldn't get away with some of the stuff he did back then, as far as how he treated Miss Elizabeth and things like that. But man, did you hate the guy?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, and of course Steamboat. I don't think Steamboat could. He was the consummate baby face. So how could you hate Ricky the Dragon Steamboat? It's impossible to do.
Right. So we'll stay with Jeremy with number 9.
All right, so number 9, and look, this is hard, man. I mean, this really is, it's really difficult. So I've got, gosh, and this is nuts. But I've got WrestleMania 10, Razor Ramon versus the Heartbreak Kid in the ladder match for the Intercontinental title, and that's at WrestleMania 10. I think that if I'm remembering correctly, if I did that was the first ladder match. Is that right? Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah. The very first
is one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time. Because you had Yokozuna as the world champion, losing to Bret Hart. Owen beats Bret. And you also have HBK versus Razor Ramon. And it was in Madison Square Garden. So I'm with you on number 10.
Okay, Randy, you're number 9.
My only women's match that would ever make my list, but I think it was the best women's match ever, was Becky versus Charlotte versus Sasha at WrestleMania 32. I love that match. And that's 3 of the 4 horsemen are horsewomen minus Bayley. Because when they did the horsewoman thing in NXT, I thought that was going to be what they brought them all up into WWE as. And you were going to get the next generation of the horsewomen being Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, and Bayley. But they never really brought that to the main roster.
Right. Yeah. Okay, stick with you, Randy. You go with your number 8.
The greatest tag team match ever. And I've talked about it at least 5 times on this show. Tables, ladders, and chairs. The Hardys versus the Dudleys versus the Edge and Christian. WrestleMania 17. And I think that was the first TLC match.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
What can I say? I've talked about that match till everybody's tired of hearing me, even Howie.
All right, Jeremy, you're number 8.
All right, number 8, I have The Rock, Austin, and I think that was I think I wrote this down wrong. I was reading through. That's not WrestleMania 7? The 17.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct. I missed, but I was thinking it was more like 17. So that would be the first WrestleMania meeting. I know they met in 19, which was basically Stone Cold's last hurrah as an in-ring performer for up until last year. So, you know, who's bigger than Rock and Austin at this point?
Yeah,
at
No.
that point. And you know, of course, you know, Rock done the job for Austin 2 times prior. He's going out, and this also, I remember this. So Austin was in the second one in 19. Austin spent the night in the hospital the night before.
Yes.
In 19, and they didn't know for sure if he's going to be able to go. But of course, this WrestleMania 17, 2 guys at their peak. Gosh, the crowds were crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but the crowd makes the match to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It so does, and that's why a little bit later I have another pick.
All right, Randy, you're number 7.
Well, he's already talked about it. HBK, Razor Ramon, WrestleMania 10, first ladder match. I mean, it was great. It was beyond good. I really, at the time, it was revolutionary. But, you know, now it's every other thing is a ladder match. But it's a shame Scott Hall never was a world champion. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. That's why when Jeremy mentioned that a while ago about that, I was thinking, you know, it's a shame that he never did get the big title. He got the smaller ones, but he never got the main one.
Yeah.
So, Randy, you're number 6.
Well, in between The Rock, Austin, and at 18 was the Legends' Last Hurrah and the Young Rocks. And this may have been the loudest WrestleMania crowd I ever heard. And sometimes and Hogan was supposed to be the heel because it was Hollywood Hulk Hogan, but the crowd was completely on Hulk Hogan's side.
Yes.
So I go with The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan or Hollywood Hogan. WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, that was a good one as well. Jeremy, you're number 6.
All right, so I meshed 2 Rock Austins together, and I was actually meaning 17 was my 8, so I'm gonna do 7 and 6. I didn't mean to mesh those 2. I just mentioned that, but my 7 is gonna be Bret the Hitman Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13. Stone Cold passing out, bloody Stone Cold. How over can you be at that point?
No.
You know, Bret Hart.
I'm going to hold my comments about that match till later.
So go ahead, Jeremy. You're 6 now.
All right, my 6. And again, you know, I think we base this off how it made us feel. And I think that's when wrestling's at its best, when it makes us feel something. WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. Now, we all know, if we follow wrestling, we know that Andre the Giant was body slammed by Harley Race, by Ernie Ladd, and there's others. But this and the build to this match, I thought it was funny when they had the confrontation there. Was that Piper's Pit, or was that Piper's Pit? And Hogan tells a story that he wanted to make it really dramatic, and so he put like Vicks Vapor Rub on his finger because he wanted to make himself try to make tears. And if you remember when Andre grabbed him and jerked, he still got his finger like this. If you watch it, he's trying to get that Vicks in his eye or close to his eye so that the tears would roll. But that whole thing, man, I thought it was great. Andre limited with that bad back, and you know, they weren't sure if he was going to do the job.
Right.
They were not sure. And like Hogan said, if Andre didn't want to do the job, he's not doing the job. You're not going to do it. So, biggest crowd ever, Pontiac Silverdome. Crowd went nuts.
The hero of that is Roddy Piper, and the way he played that in Piper's Pit. And if you remember, there was a trickle of blood where Andre scratched Hogan.
That's right.
That trickle of blood, along with Roddy Piper, sold that whole match.
That's right. And that was an accident.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Randy, you gave your 6 already?
No.
Okay, you give 6 then.
At number 6. Oh, I did give 6. At number 5 is where I'm at.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 5, WrestleMania 17, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. We already talked about it, but it was the beginning of a 3-person or a 3 WrestleMania feud. And I think the one in Seattle that Jeremy's talking about would have meant more if we had known it was Stone Cold's last match for 20 years. But that first one was special to me. And number 4, our lists are becoming very similar. Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. Yep. The slam heard around the world. And something that nobody talks about, Bobby Heenan and Andre riding that cart to the ring and back, and how animated. At one point, Andre gets knocked down, and I think it's legitimately he gets knocked down. He's laying in the ropes, and Heenan reaches over and smacks his face, and he's like trying to revive him. Heenan was a genius ringside.
Yes. Bobby Heenan, man. So, and every time I hear his name, I think about him in that neck brace.
I got one.
You need the old school. We need the old school neck brace.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, I think we're at your number 5 and 4.
I am. Number 5, WrestleMania 17, mentioned a couple of times. I've got the Hardys, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, the tables, ladders, and chairs match. That was one of when I came back to watching wrestling. That's before the streaming became so big, which has not been that long ago. But I got the DVD World's Greatest Tag Team Matches, and it had this match. Fantastic, man. The things that they did, and you have 3 of the best tag teams to ever do it in the ring together. Yeah. The stuff scared me to death, man. Some of the stuff they were doing. But that was a favorite match of mine.
I've only talked about it 10,000 times.
And I struggled I wanted to put it higher, but I have a few others that I just can't. I can't do it.
All right, let's see what your number 4 is.
All right, my number 4, and this is why I felt like that Randall's probably on drugs because he left it off. Number 4, WrestleMania 24, HBK, Ric Flair, retirement match.
I looked at my list. I have it wrote down. I simply had I had better HBK matches. I think.
No, I completely agree.
Better. I have a match here that I'm going to talk about. I've already talked about HBK twice. Yep. I just seen having him on the list 4 times.
The way, the emotion of the match, the build to the match, I loved it when he made that reference, like that old Yeller reference. I mean, in so many ways. Ric Flair with that bleached blonde hair. He's washed up. He's going to take old Yeller out. I loved the build. His unscripted, getting ready for that second super kick. And he mouths those words. And you could tell he felt that. I love you. I'm sorry. And I mean, I get chills just thinking about it, but it was just 1,000 times over. I wish Ric Flair had never went back in a ring to wrestle.
I don't
because there couldn't be a more perfect send off. The only thing that made it better for me is if he would have won, and that wasn't going to happen. But of course, HBK had a special gold Rolex that he bought, one for him and one for Rick to commemorate the event. But man, that and the night after on Raw, I mean, it was emotional. Man, first time I watched it, and I had to watch it, backward. I mean, I teared up because it was such huh?
You watched it backwards. What are you talking about?
Well, what I mean is I didn't see it live. I had to go back and watch it on the network and things like that. Yeah, so I didn't wait. I watched it like this. No, but it was just great. The whole thing. It made you feel something, and that's nice in wrestling.
Yeah. All right, we're at number 3. Who wants to go first?
I do, because I think my number 3 is an extension of what he just said.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
My number 3 is 2 matches down the road, and it is when the Undertaker comes and gets revenge, and even that night you're talking about. Remember, the Undertaker came in and bowed to Ric Flair in the ring, and then they set up the 2 WrestleMania matches between the Undertaker and HBK. This being the last one is where HBK comes out of the heavens dressed in all white. The entrance into the ring makes this match so much more for me. All white, good guy, HBK, and then the Undertaker comes out with the droids, all black, flames everywhere. If you haven't saw the entrance, if you don't even watch the match, just watch the entrance. And this would be HBK's last match until the WWE offered him so much money to go to Saudi Arabia that he got back in the ring. But he was one of the few that really honored that last match thing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, really love that match.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, you're 3.
All right, my 3. And I struggle with these last 3. And then while I'm sitting here, I'm thinking of others that I left off.
Yeah, me too.
But me and Randall are kind of running the same. But this one may come as a surprise to you at my number 3. And it may be because it's just fresh on my memory. WrestleMania 18, if I got it right. Hollywood, Hulk Hogan, The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Randall already mentioned it. I've got it higher because that crowd, I got chills. I watched it just like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I watched it again. That crowd and those guys, the crowd was there. They knew exactly what they were doing. Those facials, the Rock's response, the Hogan's response, the way that when they first came out and they just stopped and they didn't do anything for what felt like a minute and let that crowd, I thought I wanted to put, I actually did put it number 1 and I changed it because that was just unbelievable. And not to mention the fact, like for somebody like me, Hulk Hogan was your hero. When you were a kid, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. He goes through, he's evil, Hollywood, and now you got the Rock, and just to see that, and here's the cool thing about it. They wanted to carry on that Hogan as a heel thing, and it all happened spontaneously. The crowd's response, because I can remember an interview where he had to fly back home to get his yellow and red gear to come out on Raw the next night.
Yep.
But legend. You can say whatever you want about Hulk Hogan, but legend. And that was, to me, one of my favorites of all time.
Quick question. WrestleMania's in Hollywood. Will we see him there this weekend? Hollywood Hogan, will he be there this weekend? What do you think?
I think he will. He'll be there. Will he make an appearance? I don't know. But I think he will.
All right. Randy, you're number 2.
All right. All my matches I got nothing original, but I'm going to at least say something quick about them. Number 2 for me is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Macho Man Randy Savage. There's a reason it's not number 1. The one I have number 1, I don't think can be beat. But I compare this match not really to a WrestleMania match, but I compare it to Steamboat versus Flair. Those 3 matches they had in WCW.
Mm-hmm.
They did those on the fly. They practiced this Randy Savage, Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like when you hear Steamboat talks about it, it's like they had a play sheet like a football game.
Mm-hmm.
And they nonstop practiced this match over and over. And it was perfection. But that was WrestleMania 3 too. And you got, think about it, you got right before Hogan and Andre comes out there, you've got Savage and Steamboat. I mean, think about that as the top of a card. Wow. And you also had Roddy Piper in his retirement match of his first retirement match. He was going away, and he wrestled his best friend. And not many people knew that Adrian Adonis was legitimately Roddy Piper's best friend in life. So he wrestled Adrian Adonis, and him and Brutus Beefcake shaves Adrian's head. The top of WrestleMania 3, I don't know has ever been beat.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I had to pick a WrestleMania, that's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Period. You know. So, all right, Jeremy, you're number 2.
Oh gosh, guys, I'm struggling right here. I'm sitting here thinking about flip flopping it. My top 3, but number 2, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Number 2, WrestleMania 25, Undertaker, Heartbreak Kid. Wow. And I'm with Randall. The entrances, the match itself, Undertaker, that was where he was on, probably at his peak there. Crazy stuff. You know, tope suicide. What
I count this a 6-match series.
Yeah.
And that being the 2 matches, well, the match, a 5-match series. The match with Flair that HBK retires him. Mm-hmm. The 2 matches with HBK and The Undertaker where The Undertaker retires him. And then the 2 matches with Triple H versus The Undertaker. And the last one, Howie and I saw live with Shawn Michaels as the special referee.
Mm-hmm.
And they played the story out so perfectly.
Yeah.
That match almost made my list because Triple H beat the living tar out of The Undertaker. And he caught Hell's Gate and kept his streak alive. And you could almost see Shawn Michaels play that he didn't want to tap Triple H out. But I can't a 5-match series. And it took place over a half a decade. I don't know if it could get any better than that.
No, that stretch, no. To me, and I feel bad. I left both of those matches, which that would be, 27 and 28.
Yeah.
Triple H and The Undertaker. I left those off my list.
It stole the show, didn't it, Howie?
Oh, yeah. It was the best match of the night.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
That might have been one of the worst WrestleManias ever, but that match marked me out. I was in my chair, and my friend that was with me looked at me and goes, "You know this isn't real, right?" That's how far I was into it.
It's still real to me.
It was real to me that night.
Yep. All right, we're down to the number 1. Jeremy, I'll let you have the honor of giving your first number 1.
All right, so mine is similar to my number 2, and I've got my reasons. Number 1, I have WrestleMania 26, Undertaker, HBK retirement match. The reason I love this match, Number one, I like the build. I like Triple H's involvement, trying to talk Shawn out of doing it.
Yeah.
And I love that. They really put a lot in, like you said, Randall, it was almost like all these were interconnected. But that match, the entrance wasn't hardly as elaborate as the one the year before. Of course, Shawn Michaels had a lot of issues in his past. He's gave his heart to the Lord, Christian at that point. I just knowing that that's probably it for him. His entrance was cool, but when the match was great, it was to me the match was as good as the year before, but the emotion of it similar to HBK and Flair, the emotion, and allowing him to Undertaker leaves the ring, lets him have his moment. To me, it kind of stirred something for me. It stirred my emotion. Again, I wish Shawn Michaels never got back in a ring to wrestle again, especially with no hair. But you know what I'm saying. It's just that wasn't him, right? But that was one. I guess it was when I was watching WrestleMania every year and watching a lot of WWE. It just meant a lot to me. I thought it was a great match. Thought the bill was good. Undertaker, still, I believe that was his apex there, this stretch right here.
Right. All right, Randy, I would give you a drum roll, but I don't have one. What's your number one?
Well, I'm going to give honorary mention to Sami Zayn and the Jackass guy.
I would too.
Comedy-wise, that's the funny.
Oh, it's great.
I mean, when Wee Man slammed Sammy.
I thought Big Show versus Floyd Money Mayweather.
Yeah.
I thought that was maybe one of the best celebrity matches. But the best match to me, because I love wrestling history, is you get a double turn. Bret Hart walks in as a fan favorite. Stone Cold walks out as a fan favorite. Stone Cold in as the heel, loses the match, goes over even better. That iconic image of the blood, you couldn't have drawn blood on his face any better. Him refusing to tap out. He finally passes out in the sharpshooter. That was one of the few times in wrestling history the story was not as good as what happened in the ring. And you could not script. You could have not shot a movie and made that blood drip any more perfectly on that camera angle where they had Stone Cold Steve Austin. To me, it's the greatest match ever.
Yeah. I can't disagree that much with that.
All right, guys. I hate to get right to it and try to run us through it. I want to have a little chuckle here at the end of this. So I've got some matches. We're going to go over 5 times the WWE was horrible in WrestleMania. And if you've seen this, I want to get your comments. WrestleMania 21, the Big Show with his butt showing, sumo wrestling, in that strap. I don't need to see a 7'1" man weighing 500 pounds. But after I paid $59 for a pay-per-view, does anybody remember this one?
Yes.
How could you not if you saw it?
What was anybody else appalled by it?
It was crazy. I wasn't expecting it, I'll tell you that much.
All right. At number 4, the Gimmick Battle Royal featuring our boy JC. Our boy JC was in it. Brother Love was in it. Hillbilly Jim was in it. The Bushwhackers are in it. I think the Orange Sheik ended up winning it. But it's a Gimmick Battle Royal. These are all – the Repo Man made an appearance. One of the Axe and Smash, the Demolition. Just crazy, crazy characters. And hey, if you haven't heard JC talk about it, him and Brother Love work out the thing ahead of time where they get in the corner. And JC says he practically potatoed Brother Love the whole night. So that's funny. It's bad, and it is. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. The Goon shows up. I mean, people you never suspect. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but it makes my list at number 4. Hey, Howie, it's just worth it because JC was in it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't heard the story, go and listen to JC tell the story about how him and Brother Love worked out the plans to get in the corner. And then, like you said, he just beats the dog crap out of Brother Love the whole night.
And this next one, we've talked about how great. This may be, it's either WrestleMania 3 or 4. I didn't write it down. But it may have been the worst match of the first 5 WrestleManias. Now, the feud was Hillbilly Jim versus King Kong Bundy, which is in itself now bad. But for some reason, they add midgets to it.
Yeah. I knew that's where you were going.
Hillbilly Jim, Little Beaver, the Kid, Lord Littlebrook, and Little Tio to go with it. And do you remember the big ending of it? King Kong Bundy slammed the Little Beaver.
Yes. I watched that not long ago. Oh my gosh.
Okay, number 2. And this can only come because Candice Michelle had appeared in Playboy. Tori Wilson in Playboy. So to play off the angle, they create the Playboy pillow fight at WrestleMania, Tori Wilson versus Candice Michelle. Now, I like a good pillow fight, but not again when I paid $59.95 for it. Nobody. It was.
Oh boy.
I think my number 1's your number 1. 7 foot, 9 inch tall, the Giant Gonzalez versus the man, Mr. WrestleMania to me, The Undertaker. It included The Undertaker being the only match now of the street for a long time. People didn't realize the only match The Undertaker did not win by pinfall or submission. It was a disqualification because they held ether over the Undertaker's passed him out. And the referee reversed the decision, gave it to the Undertaker. And I'm going to tell you, George Gonzalez is his name. He was a first or second round pick of the Atlanta Hawks. And I got to meet him a couple of times in WCW. The most uncoordinated man I'd ever seen. You know, it just was bad. Bad. And it was in Hollywood too. So, Jeremy, was that your number 1?
Yes, it was. So I can't add to that. The thing that made it so bad, period, for poor George Gonzalez, was that dang bodysuit. What in the blue hell were you thinking of putting him in that suit? It was awful. Not to mention the fact that he couldn't work. You know, they said, from what I had heard, you said you met him. He said he was a fairly nice guy.
Really not.
Yeah.
Hey, he shows up. Let me tell you my story, WCW story. One night I'm at the UTC arena and they say, go get JJ and that guy out of the car. JJ Dillon drove a Suzuki Kick. Does anybody remember what that looked like? Little bitty Jeep. So I run out there. JJ's getting out of his Suzuki Kick. George don't know how to drive yet in America. He's 7'7" inside the Suzuki Kick. He gets out. He just keeps going up above the Suzuki Kick.
Oh my gosh.
And then my job was to get him in the arena. And I was like, what am I going to do if they start throwing rocks at this guy? He's 9 foot tall. So,
So I don't have a top five. I will throw out a couple. Undertaker, Big Boss Man,
that one's bad too.
the hanging incident, that didn't really help anything. WrestleMania 15, Undertaker. This is the one I hate the most. Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 30.
Well, we ends the streak.
He should have never been beat.
Nope.
Brock Lesnar did not need to win. You didn't need to put Brock Lesnar over. He should have never lost that match. And I'm not the only one. And, you hear other wrestling folks feel the same way about it.
Right.
I feel like he should have maintained. Now, I will say this. He was concussed about a couple of minutes into that match. And he has no remembrance of that match whatsoever, even to this day. So it would have been tough probably for him to go over being concussed. So maybe everything worked out the way it should have. But in my opinion, Undertaker should have retired undefeated at WrestleMania.
So have y'all heard, and this last thing before we get out of here, my daughter needs some help with homework. Have you heard that it was booked for the streak to end much earlier? And that wrestler refused to go over and went to Vince McMahon and said, no, the streak's too important to our business. And if you haven't seen this, the Undertaker talks about it on the Stone Cold podcast. But Edge refused to beat the Undertaker and end the streak.
Yes.
And that even endeared Edge more to me. How you got any?
No, I mean, basically the ones that y'all talked about were bad, but not every match is going to be perfect, but they can't be as bad as some of those that y'all just talked about.
Here's one more. Great Khali versus Kane, WrestleMania 23.
That was bad. Hey, I'll tell you one that I thought was horrible. Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt, where they had the worms on the canvas and all that stuff. Horrible. All right, guys, we'll be back next week. Howie, we're going to get in the tag team thing next week, or the faction thing next week.
If y'all want to, that'll be fine.
All right, WCW factions next week. For Howie Chaney, for a very abrupt Randall Cunningham that flew through the show in 1 hour and 8 minutes, Jeremy Johnson, good night, God bless, and I'll talk to y'all down the road.